Hey,
I'm
friends.
going off
Hey.
script. Okay, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
snap. Welcome back to Honey, That's Grace. I'm Jen, and I'm here with Alice and Katie.
Hi, guys.
Hello. We are recording our 8th episode. I mean, time just flies when we're having fun,
Yes,
right?
it is. And we're getting
Totally.
better and better, don't you think?
They're getting better and better.
Yeah.
They're
Not that they
awesome.
weren't good, but they are getting better and better. So super excited. So glad that you guys are here with us and tuning in. Today, we are going to talk about something that is somehow louder than my kids. Louder than your kids, Katie.
That's saying
So
something.
that's saying something right there. So, but today we are talking about criticism,
Mm.
Mhm.
where it comes from, why it stings so bad, and then how to handle it without spiraling, without
Mhm.
crying and yelling, all those things. So, um, but before we dive in, if you're enjoying these conversations about motherhood, about faith, about everything in between, go ahead and hit subscribe. Just make sure you never miss an episode and you're always tuned in. All right. So I think that sometimes criticism can can make a good day go bad
Mhm.
so quickly. Like it
Mhm.
it just turns it bad just so fast. Does that happen for you guys?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Absolutely.
all the
Yeah.
time.
I think
Flips
it's
me
cuz
out.
like I think it's cuz like we as women, moms especially, I think we're trying so hard to do our best, you know? We're
Yeah.
trying so
Mhm.
hard at
Mhm.
everything. Um
Mhm.
it already sometimes can feel like we're failing before we even receive the criticism or the judgment. And I
Mhm.
think I think that's why it feels like just sometimes like it's hard to even manage the criticism, because it's
Yeah,
like maybe confirming a fear we already have.
exactly. And I think sometimes criticism hits our identity, not just the words, not just our decisions, but it hits those places in our hearts, those insecurities that we've carried around all our life that says, hey, you're not good enough. You're
Mhm.
not worthy. You don't deserve this or that. I had someone criticize me one time and man, it hit that insecurity. It hit that sore spot. And I can just remember that inner voice saying, ooh, you're not good enough. See, you're just not good enough. You're not that person you thought you were. So I think those critical remarks do
Mhm.
mess with our identity and, the way we think about ourselves.
We're trying so hard, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah. I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
and maybe we just don't have all the answers, which I
Mhm.
normally
That's right.
do. I normally have the answers.
Mhm.
But it's when especially I think it's especially like hits close to home when it's friends and family.
Yeah.
Even when they're trying to, it may not even be like what they think is criticism. Um
Mhm.
it just hits that way
Mhm.
and it's like, don't you see everything I'm doing? Like how could you criticize me? I'm working so hard. I'm doing so
Right.
much. I'm taking care of all these things. Why are you saying this to me? So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it can come from friends and family. I think I've had it come in the form of criticism about my school choices,
mm,
criticism from church, criticism on social media, even just like random people
Mhm.
who like feel really confident in offering you, feedback, which often feels like criticism. And I think, mom, you brought up this idea of like that people I don't think really know. Like sometimes how their comments can go to places that are like wounds for us. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I was just actually recently in a no joke, like true story. I was in a space where like showing up, I'm an introvert. Actually, I think I'm more like an amnivert. I should do some more research on that, but like usually I say I'm an introvert, but it's, like, hard for me to show up in some of those spaces, you know? It, like, takes a lot
Mhm.
out of me, and I think
Mhm.
I've learned over the years, like, so much more confident and able to, like, show up in those spaces and, like, be social and be engaging, and but by the time I get in the car, I'm like, "Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like, I'm toast." Like, I should I shouldn't should myself, but I feel sometimes like on the way home, I should be asking my kids all their thoughts and stuff, but usually I'm just like recovering from like that emotional output that I just did.
Mhm.
And I was at this event and I received this criticism from somebody who was kind of like masking it with sarcasm, but it
Oh,
felt
yeah.
really critical of like kind of putting me down for being a little more quiet or,
Mhm.
like wanting to go ahead and like, it was 20 minutes after the event and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to head out, and it was kind of just this like criticism that was hitting on this piece of me where it's like, oh yeah, I don't measure up socially. I'm not
Mhm.
fun. I'm not engaging. I'm not as good of a community member as X, Y, or Z. And I don't think that people, when they say things like that, or when they're making jokes or being sarcastic at your expense, I don't think they realize how easily those can go to places of like, I'm not enough
Mhm.
for anybody. And it's like been really convicting to me as a person to like make sure I'm careful with the things I say to people or the labels I give them because I never know like how that's going to land in the
Mhm.
hurt places of their heart. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, 100%, Katie. I think our words do matter. I do wanna back up and talk about families
Oh, yeah.
because I think criticism in a family, it's really tricky because,
Mhm.
that's where we feel safe. That's where we, wanna be loved and accepted and cheered on and, you know, but
Yeah.
I think sometimes by our well-meaning family members that, they're just trying to help, right? They're
Mhm.
just trying to maybe say something. They don't realize how it hurts. I remember, Jennifer, you growing up, I remember you didn't tell me this until one time we were all together and you said it kind of in a joke, but apparently when we were growing up, I would always say or often say to you, "Are you going to wear your hair like that?" You know, I didn't mean anything by it, but I
Mhm.
understand now that what she probably heard me say was, "Oh, your hair looks horrible." You know,
Yeah.
I I don't know. But those are just those kind of tricky places that, family members do kind of reach in our hearts and twist them up sometimes because we are trying to help maybe. Of course, we do have family members that aren't trying to help. They really are critical, but I'm talking mainly
Yeah.
just they're trying to help, it's not maybe meant to sound that way, but we just really need I think that's God told us to be slow in our speak and quick to
Right?
listen, right? So I think that we need to watch out more what we say.
You know what's interesting?
Which
I was just thinking about this is it's easier for me to take criticism at work than it is I think to take criticism from like friends and family.
Mm,
And I mean, I think it's like, oh, it comes with the territory at work. Like someone's giving me a critique on, something that I write or create or put together. Um, you know, I almost welcome it.
mhm.
And then at home, I'm like, well, I'm doing all of like, how
Yeah,
dare you? I'm
do
doing
you
yeah,
all of
think
this.
it's
yeah.
because at work you're being criticized on like your product versus at home it can feel like you're being criticized about who you are?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Like you're a good mom or a good wife or you're not, you know?
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense. Like at work, I know your work is pretty healthy, so I can assume that they're not like
Yeah.
putting
Yeah.
you down.
Mhm.
Whereas at home, like I know you have teenage girls. I'm pretty sure they're putting you down.
Yes, I catch Emma doing that often, and
I think
yeah.
they're criticizing you. We
Yeah.
kinda have
Hey
2 I feel like we have 2 schools of thought happening right now. On one hand, we have this idea of, like, receiving criticism or
yeah.
judgment, and on the other hand, we have this idea of, like, being careful with how we're delivering
Mhm.
feedback. So we are not critical or judgmental,
Yeah.
and we kind of have both of these lines of thought open, and both are like super interesting to me.
Anybody who's listening to us, send a comment about some of the critical things you've heard or how you've handled criticism, or just maybe something we have mentioned here that you want to comment about. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I remember one time when, a friend of mine from church came over and you girls were little. Christopher, I think, was about 3, and y'all were watching, I think it was Ariel on TV. And, I was in the kitchen, I was making mac and cheese, and the week had been a rather hard week. And, y'all were, I think you were out of school for the day, and you were bored and you were restless. And
Like
I
little
wasn't,
wolves.
yes. And um, I wasn't engaging with you, I guess. But anyway, I put you in front of the TV, which you did not mind. You did not object. And you were watching Ariel. And, I was in the kitchen making lunch, and a friend of mine came in, and I didn't hear her knock, and she just walked on in, and she stopped it because how our kitchen was, you could see the living room where the TV was, and she stopped right in the door and looked at you girls, looked at me, looked back at you, back to me, and said, "You're letting them watch Disney on a weekday?" And I mean, I felt like she had just seen something ungodly happen. She felt like that I was, ruining you by letting you watch, Disney. And I just told her, that yes, you caught us. They're watching TV, but I thought that was the best for our family at that moment. And so she left her banana bread and left. But I'm sure I did tell her in the doorway, "Thank you for caring about my family." I was afraid that the prayer chain was going to be blowing up that night because I was letting you watch Disney, and that criticism hurt,
Mhm.
because this, you know, this was a friend who,
Mhm.
I thought she knew me better, but it hurt. And guess what it told me? I'm not a good mom.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing something wrong. And as time went on, I realized we were both trying to raise our kids to love Jesus.
You guys were both trying to do a good job,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like you fielded that criticism with grace, it sounds like. I don't remember that story, but I think that, it's such a good reminder if we put ourselves in Paula's shoes that we can deliver feedback at the right time. Like maybe it's
Yeah.
not the right time to give your mom friend feedback when she's trying to get lunch on the table and
That's
she
true.
maybe is losing her mind a
Mhm.
little bit in the kitchen. Like
Mhm.
maybe that's like there's a different time for that,
Right.
and I think that judgment feels like you're doing everything wrong, whereas I think feedback can feel really like validating and
Mhm.
helpful,
And
you know?
safe.
Yeah, and safe to
Yeah.
receive
Yeah.
feedback like, "Hey, Alice, do you want to go get coffee?" Or
Yeah.
"Do you want to meet up at a
Or
park and we can talk about maybe our different perspectives on this?"
yeah. Yeah. And I think, Katie, just to add to that, I agree 100%. But just to add to that is you don't always know someone's whole
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and so to walk in or like at that party,
Mhm.
make a funny joke or a little sarcasm about being quieter. That
Mhm.
person didn't know your whole story.
Right, they don't know what it takes for me to show up in those spaces. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
super social with the people closest to me, but in bigger
Yeah.
groups, it is like I'm thankful for an extroverted husband, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, like Paula doesn't know, this lady that I encountered at this thing doesn't know like what it took for us to be and exist that day. And I think it's
Mhm.
so like humbling for me to make sure that like my words are uplifting to
Mhm.
people, 'cause we even something we don't mean to be judgmental can feel really judgmental to other people.
For
Yeah,
sure. Very true.
that's right.
The real question is though, was her banana bread good? Because do you know that some people put carrots in their banana bread? Like
Oh,
carrots. Like, like carrot cake carrots in banana bread. So
I would put pineapple, and Katie hated it.
pineapple, I don't
Mom,
remember that.
that's a problem. I don't remember that either, but I think
But
I'm
no.
right in that
Yeah.
perspective.
Yep, you wouldn't eat my banana bread if it had pineapple in it
Raisins.
Yeah,
or
that's a
raisins.
problem. That's not a Katie problem. That's a cooking problem.
Are you open to some feedback?
Yes, would you give me feedback?
I didn't do a very good job on that.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
I am yeah, that's abominable. Banana bread add-ins that are acceptable, chocolate chips,
Yes.
obviously. Chocolate chunks,
Oh,
obviously.
yes.
Walnuts, okay,
Mhm,
Okay,
maybe,
yeah.
mhm.
Mhm.
but that's about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think extra brown sugar maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the verse from Romans 12. I've been like really pondering this a lot lately. This idea that like if we take it seriously that we are the body of Christ, like each body part has like a very specific job and like we need to do our purpose that God called us to right now in this moment. Not tomorrow, not somebody else's purpose. Like Paula wants to show Veggie Tales, Alice wants to show Little Mermaid or whatever. Like live where God has you
Mhm.
and it's
Right.
okay if maybe it's a little
Yeah,
different, and I
right,
think about like what the New Testament tells us over and over and over again about like how we should be treating, our fellow believers and people who are not believers around us.
mhm,
And I think it just over and over talks about like living in peace and doing everything we can to live in peace. I don't think
mhm,
that means like, I think a lot of people have used that for women, especially that we're just like wet blankets, just take it, get run over. I don't think that's what it's talking about. But I think like this idea that we do not think of ourselves more than we think of other people, but think
right.
of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you, and I think of that a lot when it comes to judgment. Like I don't know what that other person is going
That's right.
through, but I can be
Mhm,
careful with like how I'm putting my opinions out there, to
mhm.
them.
Absolutely, because I think when we become opinionated,
Mhm.
we hide behind that word, "Oh, we're just opinionated," where in reality, a lot of your opinionating is judgment, it's
Absolutely.
criticism, and so I think we have to be careful about, saying, I have a friend that says, "Oh, I just say whatever's on my mind." But what she doesn't
Mhm.
realize is that it hurts,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and yeah, did did she mean to hurt him? Well, that doesn't matter if somebody's hurt, right?
Mhm.
And so I just believe we need to be more careful
Yeah.
in our opinions and saying, you know, what we wanna say when we wanna say it.
Absolutely. I think back to this. You guys were there. Jennifer threw me the most beautiful baby shower when I was pregnant
Mm,
with number 2. It was so
yeah.
cute. And I know
That's
that
fun.
the friend that was there did not mean this, but I was coming in off of like a C-section from my firstborn that I did not want to have. It was like an emergency C-section. And
Mm.
this gal, do you guys remember that at the baby shower? She's
Yes, I do.
a doctor in training, and she was talking about how she was really excited to go train at a birth center so she could see a real delivery. And,
Mm,
as opposed to the hospital ones she had seen. And I just remember sitting in that moment, feeling that judgment. And I felt pretty mature that, I was able to kind of like work through that much
Yeah.
easier than
mhm,
maybe past judgment. But it's just even comments like that. Like, we don't know somebody else's birth story. We don't know how a
right.
C-section sits with another person. And so I think it's right that we're just like, slow to speak. I think that's such
Yeah.
amazing wisdom. to, be careful with our
Mhm.
opinions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just one more thing, I think also to broaden this thought is that as Christian women,
Mhm.
we need to be striving to not being, offended so easily at the same time,
Mm.
right? Is, if you know somebody well and they,
Mhm.
hurt your feelings, maybe stepping back and thinking, "Okay, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that
Mhm.
they didn't mean to hurt me," right?
Mhm.
And so just to broaden the conversation a little bit
I
to
love it. I feel like this conversation on judgment can go off on so many
Oh,
different.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
how do we
I
mature in our
Yeah.
faith where we don't let every little snide
Mhm.
remark cripple us,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
'Cause Satan loves when we have an offendable spirit, right?
Right? Yeah.
I think something that we can do as well is ask people if they're open to feedback.
Oh,
Mm.
And
good.
they, but we have to take the answer. If they're like, no,
Right?
then you can't give
Yeah.
it to them. But I
Right.
think back early on, my husband and I blended our families right in the middle of COVID. Like, oh, it was about
Oh
to
my
take off. I
gosh.
don't even think
Mhm.
it had fully taken off yet, but my job went remote, and so I was thrown into not only like stepmotherhood and blending a family,
Oh,
but also virtual schooling, which that was just, I mean,
Yeah.
no one had any idea what they were doing when it first went out. On top of that, one of the kids was in Emma was in Russian immersion. So trying to teach her Russian was just, it was just like a hot mess. But one of the kids came and said, or showed us a progress report and said, "Look, no Fs." And I was probably had, judgment written all over my face, like, "Well, what?" And we look, and sure enough, it was all Ds and Cs, no Fs. She was right. And I remember just thinking, "What in the whole wide world, or what are we doing here?" And now we're into, you know, virtual schooling. But my husband and I sat down and set some expectations for the kids. Things like, um,
Mhm.
no missing assignments. We understand you may bomb a homework assignment or a test, but at least you have to turn it in, right? It can't
Mhm.
be that you're just lazy and you didn't turn it in. And, like limiting electronic time and things like that. And that is when criticism just came in. Um, like, you're being too hard on them. There's no way they're ever going to achieve these things. This
mhm.
is not the parenting philosophy we've always had.
You don't
Just
speak
all the
good Russian.
I didn't. I had to use Google
You
Translate so
speak
much.
terrible Russian.
Oh, but anyways, I look back on that and I'm so glad we didn't listen
Mm,
to that
mhm.
criticism. I'm glad we were solid and we didn't listen to that, because I look at us now, and one kid has graduated high school. Two of them straight A's. And then the other
Dang,
one has like all A's, maybe one B or something. And then
dang.
they're they're all on this track in dual enrollment to graduate with an
Yeah,
associate's
that's
degree in
crazy.
business.
I
That's
love
And
that.
so
wonderful.
I'm so glad we like held to our standards and our
Mhm.
expectations, because the kids definitely achieved them. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, maybe number one, don't let other people keep you from achieving what you know you can, or
Right.
what you know your kids can.
Mhm,
Right.
And then
mhm,
number 2 is, maybe ask for that feedback. Like, ask if someone wants that feedback. Like, "Hey,
mhm.
um, you know, I have some thoughts on how I raised my kids, or we raised our kids. Do you want some feedback, or do you want some best practices?" Or
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
corporate speak
Mhm,
there. But um anyways, ask them, and then
mhm.
I think that would come softer. Like, doesn't that feel
Mhm.
softer if someone's
Mhm.
like,
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
Yeah.
this is the place I'm coming from," not like, "You're an
Mhm.
idiot," you
Yeah.
know, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Think a great example of, like, feedback, I don't think I asked for this, but mom, I know you remember this, after my firstborn was born, I couldn't breastfeed very well, and I was
Mm,
trying really hard, and it wasn't working,
Mhm.
and I was spending way too much time on Google learning about all the horrors of formula and wink, wink. And I was pumping like every other hour, like half an ounce, like just trying to make
Mm,
something work. And
mhm,
I didn't ask for this feedback, but it was delivered so lovingly from mom. And I remember we were in my old house, don't you? And
mhm.
I came out of the back bedroom with this like measly teaspoon of breast milk. And you were like, Katie, like, you were like, "Wow, like, that's hard work. What do you think, Sammy needs? Does he need breast milk or does he need a happy mom?" And it was just delivered so lovingly, and it was almost like I think something there's too about, like, phrasing feedback in
Yeah.
questions and
Mhm,
curiosity and, like, gentleness to be like, "Oh, yeah," like,
mhm,
all of a sudden, my prefrontal cortex can come online and be like, "You're
mhm.
right. I'm torturing
Yeah.
my family," in a
And
in a
myself.
place of yeah, and
Yeah.
myself from a place of, like, wanting to do a good job, and so I love that
Mhm.
idea, Jen, because I wish the people in your life who had been giving you that negative feedback had been coming at it from, like, "Tell us more what you guys got going on," like,
Yeah.
"Why are you
How can
making
we
these
help?
choices?" Yeah, like, "How can we help? How can we support you?" And
Right.
instead of from, like, this place of judgment, because I remember that time for
Mhm,
you, it was insane.
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, it was a hard time. I
Oh,
remember saying that to you, Katie, watching you go through, just torment because you
Yeah.
wanted something. Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I remember you, Jen, going through that. But I wanna just kinda, um, talk to all the Grammys and grandmas and
Mm.
Onies and all the
Mhm.
whatever special name your grandchild says to you. But I wanna encourage us and remind us that these precious grandchildren that we have were not an accident. There's no coincidences with God. And just remind us of how important it is for us to encourage and support our daughters and our daughter in laws, those special women who have come into our family, um, and to give them encouragement and
Mhm.
keep your criticism to yourself unless you're asked. Unless you ask if you can give some feedback, but
Mhm.
the criticism or the things that we say during that time when they're trying to do the hardest, most holiest job there is and raise our grandkids, those words do come off as hurtful and
Mhm.
judgmental, critical. And like I think we've all said in our own ways that other people don't always know where we are when we hear those things. And,
Mhm.
you know, I think I just want to encourage us Grammys and um, fellow grandmas out there to love on these women, love on your daughter, love on your daughter-in-law, and encourage them during this precious time.
I think that's beautiful because I also we don't like you were saying, we don't know where everybody is in their season. And so
Mhm.
even if it feels like I mean, I can't even tell you like how many times I've cataloged like those sweet things when you're at your worst, the sweet things people do for
Mhm.
you, the loving feedback, the coffee, the dinners, the gentle
Oh,
things
yeah.
that people do for you. It's like you never forget that,
mhm.
and
Mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I love that
I
so much, mom.
I think if I had come at you and said, "Katie, you just need to quit
Mhm.
breastfeeding," that
Mhm.
would have crushed your heart.
Yeah, and knowing my personality, I would have pushed you away,
Yeah.
because like I'm
Yeah.
pretty private and that would have been like pretty crushing to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, so to have a gentle like encouragement, you know,
Mhm.
was so beautiful. Yeah, and I keep thinking about all these Bible verses that really connect to this, both like guarding ourselves, but also like who we want to be. And I like this like duality that we're seeing, like not only how we act, but how we receive, and it just
Mhm.
reminds me of I'm over here in Hebrews 12. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the
Mm.
joy set before him, he endured the cross. And I was just reading my favorite book ever, Gentle and Lowly, and it was
Cool.
bringing this verse up, and it was like, for the joy set before him. I've never even thought of that, but the joy set before him was us. Like, he came for us. That was
Mhm.
the joy. That was the reason he did the cross,
Mhm.
and it just, this verse reminds me so much that we're all running our own race. We're all living
Mhm.
our life, our purpose for Christ. And so we
Mhm.
can like kind of push off of these things that we receive, and we can run that race, remembering Jesus' sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that scripture.
Me too. I really am into it. I've been reading it a lot. I just love this discussion so much. And I just want to encourage all of our listeners that if you're carrying judgment or criticism or like hurt in your heart, hear this
Mhm.
today. You're doing better than you think.
And that God trusted you with your kids and he's not confused.
So shake off the judgment, protect your peace, and remember, honey, that's grace. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Your support means so much. Like, comment, share, and subscribe so we can keep growing this community together.
Honey, That's Grace is for informational purposes only and is not professional therapy, legal, or medical advice. Please consult a qualified professional for guidance specific to your situation. The hosts are not liable for any decisions you make based on this content.